Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. I am right now standing in the beating heart of what was once, about 2,000 years ago, the nucleus, the centre of a Roman fort in modern day Scotland near Falkirk. Now bear with me if you just follow with me for 1 second. This was a small fort on a barrier, on the northernmost barrier of the Roman Empire for some odd 20 years. But what's most fascinating about this part is what is just over this ridge. Now bear with me just a second more and you'll see it. And there it is. This is the northernmost barrier of the Roman Empire, the Antonine Wall, which stretched from modern day the Firth in the east in modern day Scotland to the Clyde River in the west near modern day Glasgow. Now, when you think of a big barrier in Roman Britannia, you immediately would think of, you'd be forgiven for immediately thinking of Hadrian's Wall, and quite rightly. It's one of the most amazing structures from Roman Britain that survives to this day. But 20 years after Hadrian's Wall was constructed, Hadrian's successor, Antoninus Pius, in about 142 AD, he decided to extend the frontier, the barrier of the Roman Empire, further north, in between, as I said, the Clyde and the Firth rivers in modern day Scotland, and he erected a new wall. This is the Antonine Wall. Now, unlike Hadrian's Wall, the Antonine Wall was made mainly of wood, a wooden palisade and turf. So today, not much of it survives, but you can see, as you can see really well here, the ditch, which would have been in front of the Antonine Wall, and you can see parts of the ramparts remaining. See this steep slope here. On here, about 2,000 years ago, Roman soldiers, well, nearly 2,000 years ago, Roman soldiers would have been walking up and down, looking out to the north towards the Midland Valley, the fertile Midland Valley, and the Caledonian tribe, one of the most ferocious tribes in Scotland in antiquity. Now, this wall was occupied for about 20 years or so after Antoninus erected it. It took about 8 years to build, I believe, all the way, stretching both coasts of Scotland. I think it's about eight years or so to build. And said the Romans manned it for about 20 years. Now, it wasn't usually legionaries who would have manned these forts. Now, we do know of a legionary fort north of here at a place called Untitled, but that was used mainly in the 1st century AD when the British governor Agricola, he marched his forces, 3 legions, including the famous 9th Legion. He marched north deep into Scotland and he fought a battle against the Caledonian tribes at a place called Mons Graupius. Sadly, we don't know where that place is, but we do know the legionary and Roman activity even further north than here. But at the time of the Antonine Wall and when it was built, this was the frontier. Now, over 40 years later, in 208 AD, another Roman emperor came this far north, a man called Septimius Severus, the warrior emperor originally from Leptis Magna in Africa. Thank you, Fun History. That's a really nice comment to hear. And he led the largest campaigning army ever to land in Britain, 50,000 men, including the Praetorian cohort. And he led these men deep into Scotland to fight against 2 Highland tribes, the Caledonians and the Maeatae. And he re-established the Antonine Wall, as the frontier of the Roman Empire. Now, the Antonine Wall, Severus stayed in Scotland for about 3 years, and it has led some people to rename this wall rather than the Antonine Wall. They call it the Severan Wall for that very reason. But Severus only occupied this wall for about 3 years because Severus dies in 211, and following his brutal Scottish campaigns. And who succeeds Severus? None other than Caracalla and Geta. Now, those 2 brothers have more important things to do than being on the northern edge of Britain, and so they abandon the Antonine Wall as their frontier, and they take many of the troops they had in Britain and they take them back to Rome, and the old frontier, the old barrier, is returned to Hadrian's Wall.